next? So up next, we have the panel, where we're going to be welcoming back some of the people you've seen already here today. But it's a good time for those of you at home to drop any questions that have come up that you want to get answered into that chat box, and they're going to end up here on my iPad. That's why I'm holding it. For those of you in the audience, we're going to have a microphone. We're going to have somebody walking around. So if you want to ask a question, please put up your hand, and we'll try our best to get to you as well. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome back our panelists. I'd like to start with welcoming back Emily Wall from Scott's Miracle-Gro. Welcome back, Emily. Thanks, Emily. Next, I'd like to welcome back John Appleby, CEO of Avantra. Welcome back, John. And of course, I'd like to welcome back Matthias Lang from UMB. And finally, someone we've not yet met, but we've talked about, I'd like to welcome to the stage Wolfgang Bausch, Global Head of the SAP business at our partner Red Hat. Welcome,
Hi,
Wolfgang.
good afternoon.
Great to have you here. Awesome. Right, so let's go ahead and get started. Thank you all for coming back to agreeing to be part of this panel. I know it can be a little bit intimidating to have any question being asked, but I promise I'll do my best to moderate and to go softly on you. So I'm going to start with John and give him a hard question. So John, in your keynote, you talked about RISE and the options that exist for customers, which seem unlimited in a lot of cases. So it begs the question, what does the future look like, and is it really hybrid?
Yeah, I mean, that's not a hard question, Brenton.
Okay, I'll try better.
Try harder. but no, yes, the future's already here. It's not that unevenly distributed, and for almost all enterprises, it is already hybrid. I mean, at Avantra, we run a mix of hyperscalers and a bunch of SaaS applications. That's a version of hybrid. You know, I talk to other customers that are running large on-premises ERPs and a bunch of SaaS applications. So every business has their version of hybrid. What's important to the end customer, though, is to figure out what does it look like for them? What does their version of hybrid look like? Because to your point, there are absolutely endless different ways of doing it. And I believe only by careful thought and analysis and prioritization, you know, maybe you've got a great relationship with Amazon, you've got a massive discount, that totally changes the picture. Maybe you're really paranoid about security, and you know, and those, by the way, the hyperscalers are your competition, and then that's going to drive the decision. So each company is individual and has to make the decision that's right for them.
I couldn't agree more, and actually you and I were talking backstage before this, and you would still consider the whole RISE concept being on RISE to be a hybrid scenario in the majority of cases. Isn't that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, RISE looks different for each customer. I mean, you can run it in each hyperscaler. By the way, pretty soon you're going to be able to run it on-prem.
Yeah.
And to have that stack come back onto your own, I'm hearing about those contracts starting to exist. and so it's already different for every business. So RISE is implicitly hybrid because you end up with a hyperscaler. You probably end up with a bunch of on-prem or other hyperscaler ERP stuff anyway, and stuff that isn't supported by RISE and is not on RISE.
Yep.
And then you end up with all those SaaS applications again.
Awesome. I'm going to change tack slightly, and Emily, I'm going to come to you next. And that was a fantastic run-through that you took us through of your journey and your story with Tyler earlier, so thank you for that.
Sure.
So I want to get your perspective on that term, hybrid. What does it mean for Scott's, and what's your plan? And maybe from a people perspective and from a system perspective.
Sure. We'll start with people. We're hybrid still at Scott's. I think most corporations are,
Yep.
right? Through
It's not
COVID,
going away.
No, not anytime soon, and that's fine. Through the COVID years, we found talent outside of Central Ohio, so been great benefit to us by having that. So I think for the foreseeable future, it'll remain hybrid, kind of hire where you are based on the talent that we need, which is great for all of us. As far as systems, so we run HANA ECC in the cloud. So RISE is going to be a stretch because we're pretty sophisticated in our operations there, and based on the 100-plus page document that SAP has on all the stipulations of how it works, I think we'll actually be taking a step backwards at Scott's if we go to RISE. So while we're still having some technical conversations between SAP and ourselves, understand is there really value in it that we're just not seeing? We need to kind of put a bow on that and make that decision and continue to move forward in that S/4HANA journey. So,
so that's the future.
That's where we are.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
And Matthias, I'm going to come to you next, if that's okay. And I think at UMB you have a wonderfully diverse portfolio. So I think you probably see this more than anybody else in terms of your customer base and what you're seeing from a demand standpoint. How are you approaching those unlimited options that the customers have, and from on-prem, hybrid, RISE? What's your approach?
Well, I think for us or for our customer, it's important that we have the nearly connection, the face-to-face connection to the customer, so that we can flexibly bring a solution if there are problems pops up.
Yeah.
I think that's the most case. What it's for our side interesting, and what the customer also like to have. So I told before, hey Joe, it's not a joke. It's really, hey Joe, we have a problem here.
Yes.
Give us support, and this is what we can provide. We can provide in on-prem side, on the hyperscaler, of course. On RISE, it's a showstopper, but also on RISE we have also some customer. And what we are doing here, it's to manage the tickets, look is the right content in, and planning the activities. And there is important, one activity, one tickets. So never create a ticket with 2 questions, you will get only one answer.
I think my team who are in the audience would probably agree with you on that one.
Yeah, that's the life.
Yep. Absolutely. Wolfgang, I'd like to bring you into the conversation at this point. And I mean, we have a fantastic partnership between ourselves and yourself, and we're doing some amazing things with that Ansible integration. And I'm loving the work that's going on to harmonize that. Do you want to speak for a moment on that partnership, your perspective on it, and kind of where we're heading with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks a lot. And maybe let me start with our customers, what I'm hearing from them and seeing in the market. So in the market, I think there's that ever-increasing pace of change. New products, you need to bring out, adopt new technologies, then you've got new competitors coming up in each and every day, then we've got all the political and economical crises. So the top 3 that I'm hearing from your colleagues is really, we need to get more innovative, we need to work on our competitive advantages. Number 2 is, but we also need to take care about cost, we need to increase our efficiency and really protect our margin. Number 3 that I'm hearing is really, we need to manage somehow the talent and skill gap. And the latest IDC study shows, it was from IDC, released that all the global companies will be affected by that challenge in 2025. So it's now time to react. And not acting is not an option, because that will probably cost you 20% of your growth, while investing into that area will help you with 40% of productivity. So that's it. Now, how does automation play into that? And automation ticks all of the boxes. It's kind of the Swiss Army knife, really the tool that helps you to tackle cost, to tackle efficiency, to tackle the talent gap, all of it. And this is where we're working closely together. So we're really providing our customers a much broader, complete, and I would say a powerful automation solution for the complete SAP environment. In fact, what we're providing is a single pane of glass to manage the complete SAP and infrastructure that makes it much easier then. And let me give you a couple of examples what that means. So on one side, it really helps them to accelerate migration to HANA, S/4HANA, and we do that by providing you a programmatic approach that you can use to provision and configure those systems according to the SAP rules, of course, but also help you to rapidly replicate data to the new environments, easily and quickly move SAP workloads to new environments. Second is then really how automation can help to speed up processes, to drive in more agility, but at the same time, make sure that you've got the consistency and the reliability in everything that you're doing. So automation really helps with standardizing, provisioning, and configuring. And by the way, not just on the server, but we're talking about network, storage, security, application, so all of it. And I think some good examples and use cases that we have how to accelerate that is really automating your system refresh, automating the patch of the OS, and also enable auto-scaling for your infrastructure. So these are things that we're doing, and a couple of more are in the works. Can talk about that later if there's still time. And all of that helps you to redirect your teams to more valuable strategic initiatives that you have in there. Because you can also use automation, of course, to drive automation in all the manual, repetitive tasks that are still in each and every company, as I see. And that not just helps you with the productivity of your teams then, but it also helps you to drive in more loyalty of the employees, motivation, and therefore also retention. So ticking off that box as well.
Absolutely, and I love the fact that you wore that T-shirt, Matthias, because it's all about the creation of time. It's exactly what you're describing there, and I absolutely love that. And the integration from our automation engine along with Ansible, really those possibilities become endless, and that's what's truly exciting, I think, about what our teams are working on. It's absolutely fantastic. Thank you for that.
So I think it's really about, in a nutshell, and with all of that, we're really helping you to focus more on the innovation, drive those transformation processes, because this is really driving the big value to customers. Thanks.
Absolutely. Of course. I'm going to change track ever so slightly, though, because I have a new question which has come in. So, Emily, this one's coming in for you, and it's about your automation journey and and how you automated your IT operations. And specifically, the question is, what were the highs and the lows on that journey that you'd like to share with this audience?
Well, we'll start with the highs, right? With any automation comes business efficiencies. So obviously that is the end result once we got through that. But I mean, with any new automation, I think in my mind, you start out with some hiccups because you're trying to figure out how to really make it work, especially with each system's being unique. So the lows is the stumbling until you get there. But once you're there, it definitely pays off. So I think it's typical with any type of automation you're putting in place.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier with Bernd, there's no such thing as a standard SAP landscape because it integrates with so many different things. You configure it a specific way to make sure your business is operating to the best it can be. So it has to be tuned. It has to be tweaked. That's awesome. Thank you. Matthias, maybe I'll ask you the same question. You've been on this journey as well. Highs and lows?
Highs and lows. Of course, the reports that this process is completely running automatically. It was easily to implement because we was not depends with the hardware infrastructure. It's easy. The lows, we are starting now to implement automation on OS patching, something like that. So it's easy in a standard structure environment, but we have customer systems.
And they're all different.
Therefore, we have to clean up to bring the standard into the systems. And after them, I will say that's then easy to implement this kind of sexy automation.
What I like there is the parallel between your two journeys. It's about, there are stumbles, but when you get there, then you can enjoy the bliss that is automation. That's not a catchphrase that I want to catch on. But anyway. Emily, I'm going to come back to you one more time, if that's okay. And I want to talk about your strategic initiatives in your role. You know, that's front of mind. What's the next big thing for you that's super exciting at Scott's?
Well, two big things. One exciting, one not so much. Which obviously we've been talking about S4 a lot, right? So that's just going to be a large undertaking. Exciting because I think it's going to provide new capabilities to the business that they might not have today. But so that's one thing that we'll be focusing on over the next 3 to 4 years. But in addition to that, I know Gen AI is the buzz around everywhere, but we've actually already started diving in head first there. We're looking to build an app that is, our consumers get their hands on, take pictures of plants or weeds or whatever it might be. It'll recognize it. It'll tell you what products to care for, how to treat the weed if you're trying to kill something. So we're trying to figure out what that looks like at Scott's and starting to train our large language models to recognize that. And It's going to be a journey, but it's going to be an exciting one.
I'm going to be your first customer on that one because my wife would say I don't have green fingers, so I would definitely need the help.
I need it as well, so.
Awesome. I'll be your beta tester. It's all good. Fantastic. I have one final question I want to ask all the panelists, but I'm going to pause for a second and just double check to see if there's any questions in the audience. Feel free to raise your hand if you do have a question that you want to ask, and we can get a microphone over that direction. Okay, we've one over here on the left. Just getting the microphone over that direction.
We can hear him.
So why don't you just yell it out, and I'll repeat the question for those on the stream.
Tim Rice, my question is probably more for Matthias and John around BTP. I'm wondering if you think that in the SAP ecosphere, do you think the users understand what BTP is? Do they understand the impact that it has, and really how to manage and maintain that
A BTP environment.
BTP environment?
Awesome. So I'm going to repeat that question. Thank you for that question, Tim. So for Matthias and for John, the question is, from a BTP standpoint, do you feel like it's well understood in the user base about how to use it, how to manage it, and all of the impacts that come with using BTP? Who wants to go first? John, you go first.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll tell the story from that a customer told me because I think it tells it beautifully. And when we first met on this topic, it was probably 3 years ago, but I might be wrong. It might have been before COVID. I don't know. But he said, "I got a real problem." He said, "I've got 2 million of shelfware of BTP." He's like, "I overbought. Finance are really mad at me. We can't get it to work, and I'm in trouble." And then when I met with him this year and said, "How's BTP going now?" He's like, "Massive user, one of the biggest users. All of these extension things. It works now. We're getting value out of it." So I think, the answer, at least in his eyes, from that particular customer was, well, people are kind of growing into it. And when you've got these extension use cases, and by the way, BTP's grown into that because the original SAP HANA Cloud Platform was intended to be a general purpose compute platform.
Right.
And BTP is now very much focused on extension use cases. I've got my clean core, and I want to build this app that has this bit of functionality that gets you a piece of business process from A to B, some pricing analysis or whatever that particular function is. BTP is really good for that.
Awesome. Matthias, any perspective?
We have not collected right now too much of experience in that area. It's a starting process on the customer side.
Yep.
What I can tell you is always that the connection problems there sometimes exist.
Yep.
Then it's the communication, and then it's clear from the question point of view. There is not a clear picture on which situation is the problem exists.
Yep.
And we have to find out together, and that helps with the HO. So.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Any other questions from the audience? No? Awesome. So I'm going to move on to my final question, and I'm going to go around the horn, and I'm going to finish with John on this one. So Wolfgang, I'm going to start with you, if that's okay. What are your key takeaways from today? 30 seconds on what you want this audience to be thinking about from your perspective on everything you've heard.
30 seconds. So I think the key thing is that technology complexity will continue to grow. And automation, like we provided as a platform, really has shown that it can speed up things, that it can provide the agility and deliver and optimize business results. So therefore, I think the power of the two platforms is something to consider. And maybe the move to HANA and S/4HANA is the right moment in time to fully embrace the platforms.
Nice. And I think that was within 30 seconds, so thank you for that. That's awesome. Matthias, on to you.
From my side, a company like UMB, we provide poor basic, sub-basic support. And for us, it's important to bring this service together with the customer in a short way to solve the coming and the upcoming problems more and more. And I think it's always fine and good that the communication is started, by the way.
Yeah. Awesome. Emily?
I would say for me and where we are at Scott's, as we continue to reduce staff, the more automation we can do, the more relief it's going to bring to who's still there. So I think a little bit of what was announced today will allow us to gain value from. We need to get into that patching automation that we're starting to look at, and I think some things from today will help that. But so I would just say continue to look where we can for additional automation to reduce hands on keyboards every day.
Continue the automation journey. I love it. John, any final words?
Yeah, I'm going to repeat myself because why not?
Why not?
Yeah, I mean the future is hybrid. It's already there. Customers need to think about what is going to work for them. Don't listen to the vendors and the consultants that have all got some agenda. Like come in and look at it stone cold and say, what do I need? And then point number 2, from what does the business objectives? What's the strategy and how do we support IT? How do we then understand what we need for us based upon our business's objectives? And then thirdly, as IT people, it's incumbent upon us to get up the stack.
Absolutely.
And understand that from a business perspective. Because until you look at it through that lens, you don't know. I mean, maybe the system is in the corner and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And it can just be left there. And somebody turn it on once a year to get some audit documents out. Or maybe that system in the corner is holding up the whole of the air traffic in the United States.
or the UK, yeah. All those recent stories.
Yep.
Thank you, John. Great advice. And so what I want to say at this point is thank you all of you for joining us here today. It really has been a fantastic discussion and a fantastic program of events. If there's any outstanding questions, and I can see there were a few more, unfortunately we don't have the time to cover them right now, but we will follow up with them later. But for now, from the Black Forest, thank you for joining us.